Hey, welcome back to Five Lakes Garage, and today we're actually going to do a comparison between the 2017 Hardtail or the 2022 full suspension. All right, so in this corner, we have a 2017 Diamondback Overdrive Pro 29-inch wheels. Been riding this thing for years, well over 100 plus miles on this thing. And in this corner, we have the 2022 full suspension Trance 2 Giant. I've only been riding this one for about 50 plus miles or so. But I'm going to tell you some of the good things, some of the bad things, some of the things I like, some things I don't like, and which one do you think you can go with if you're actually going to go down this route. Now, if you look up behind me on my big screen up there, I have a couple of different categories that we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to go through each one and why I came up with one decision over the other. So let's start it out with the weight. Oh, hello there. Thanks for watching. And if you really like it, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you really like it, go ahead and hit the like button. And go ahead and comment because I want to hear what you have to say. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. Let me know. And if you really want to send anything to the channel, help us out, whichever. Here's a P.O. box that we opened up in case you want to send something. I'll do a video and see what it is. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of the show. All right, so I have it hoisted up on my hoist in the middle of my shop. Why? Because I can. I have it. I don't have to hold it up. And I have everything stripped on there, no water bottle, no nothing, and this is actually going to be the dry weight. So this guy right here, which is the 217 Diamondback, looking at 30.8 pounds. And what am I using? It's very high tech, very scientific. It is a fish scale that I just picked up because if you've been following the channel, you know I like fishing. So anyway, this one right here, 30 pounds. Let's check out the other one, see what we got. All right, so now we have the Giant up on the scale, and it comes in a whopping 35.5 pounds. That's 5 pounds more than the other, which you don't think is much until you start riding it. I'm gonna get to that here in a second. So, as far as weight goes, gonna have to give it to the Diamondback. All right, so as you can see on the board, one check for the Hardtail. Now, what else are we gonna get to? The cost. Holy crap, this was a ridiculous one. Okay, the 2017, back in 2017, granted that was like 5 years ago, because this is 2022. Even though it's the last day of 22, still 22. So this guy here, $1,800. For this whole package right here, and that was delivered to the house. This one over here, the Giant, the Trace 2. Now it's not the Trace 3, which is the low end, not Trace 1 because it's the high end, but this is the Trace 2, and this one came in at $3,000. Now granted, compared to a lot of the other ones, this is an actual bargain because some of them get crazy expensive. But which one would you rather have? $3,000 bicycle or a $3,000 boat? Yeah, well, I got them both, so it's okay. So yes, I am going to give it to, actually the cost savings, the Diamondback, I'm gonna have to give it to you. It is a whole lot cheaper to go with the Hardtail. Now, granted, you are buying upgraded stuff. You're buying the suspension. Okay. But anyway, so we're gonna give the cost to the Diamondback. All right, so this next thing on the list, ride comfort. I can't really give you a scientific reason. That is just the seat of the rump. I would have to say, with a shot of a doubt, the better wire quality will be the Giant. The full suspension, my bum thinks it every time we actually go out. The Hardtail, it hurts. Not a lot, but it does hurt. It just bounces off the rocks and the roots and stuff like that. So full suspension, gotta give it to you. So much so, I'm gonna give you 2 check marks. All right, so what exactly did I do to actually help with the ride quality? On the Diamondback, the Hardtail, the only thing you really can do is adjust your tire pressure. So I went up with it and went down with it. I'm right around 30 psi. I think the wheel says go to 35 and above. I just went 30. We've been okay. I haven't really had any too many punctures, and it actually works pretty well. Also, I've upgraded the front fork on this thing to 120 millimeter travel. The other one was only 100. Now I got 120. It seemed to help a lot, but hey, no, we'll get it going. Also, it is set up for a rider that is 220 pounds, which is about 100 psi up in the front fork. You can go ahead and get yourself a little gauge and actually test that with you. Now, on this side over here, the full suspension, I believe is 210 psi in the rear and 100 psi up here in the front. And the front suspension is, all right, so the front is actually 130 millimeter travel, which is a whole lot more than the Diamondback. And also this one has the rear suspension, but this one does not. And that one's at 120 millimeters of travel. And it's got about 205 psi in the front, 100 in the front. 205 in the rear, 100 in the front. So it does help quite a bit. And I've also pumped up the tires a little bit more, try to help with the rotational friction, whatever. So it actually be a little bit easier to ride. So that's why I gave ride comfort 2 check marks, because wow, that is the main reason why you get a full suspension bike. Now, effort to ride. Now, effort to ride. Well, I've been going back and forth with this because it has been driving me bonkers. Because I'm going to have to give the credit to the Hardtail. Now, it could be because of the weight difference, because there's a 5-pound difference. Also, it could be for the tires. Now, the tires, ones on the Diamondback, are basically ones with, it's got pretty decent tread. I don't really feel uncomfortable riding with it, but it's not that aggressive. But if you look on the other one, that is knobby. But it's for a little bit different terrain. So it could be for the rotational friction of the tires themselves. That could be the reason why the effort to ride. I feel like when I'm driving the Giant, I get tired a whole lot quicker than I am on the Diamondback. The Diamondback just seems to be a lot easier to ride. All right. So another thing I think the reason why this one actually is a lot easier to ride than it is the full suspension is because of the suspension. Every time you push down on the Hardtail, all that power, boom, goes right into the ground, because the suspension is only in the front and there's nothing in the back. All of it gets pushed down. Now on the suspension bike, when you push down, the suspension has to compress a little bit, so you're losing some of that power. Could be what it is, I don't know. The other thing that it drives me a little bit nuts, I'm gonna get to that down here to the gearing. This one here, it seems that I have to work the gear shift a lot more than on the Hardtail, only because of the way it's gearing, and I'm gonna get to that here in a second. So, effort to ride, easier to ride, I'm gonna have to give it to the Hardtail. The Hardtail is so much easier to ride than the full suspension, but it could be the way it's set up, it could be my own thing, I don't know. These are just my opinions. And if you listen to it, great. If not, okay, do something else. All right, let's go back to gearing. So gearing, they are a little bit different. Now, when you think of gearing, you think big sprocket, little sprocket, whichever. As long as the gear ratio is right, then you should be fine. But I would have to say, I'm gonna have to give it, once again, to the Diamondback. Granted, I'm used to it. I'm not used to the new one, but the way that it's set up, I really like the Diamondback better. And this is why. On the Giant, you have one sprocket up front. All right. Now this right here, there's nothing on there. It just keeps the chain on the sprocket itself. In the rear, you have 12 different gears, and they start to get huge. Now the problem with that is that if I'm going up a hill or whatever, I have to work the gears a whole lot more, because these are a lot closer together than is on the Diamondback. So I feel like I have to jump up 2 or jump 3 or whatever to go up a hill, or when I go on flat or whatever. I just feel like I'm having to go through a lot more gears on this thing than I do on the Diamondback. Now on the Diamondback, you can see I got one sprocket here and I got one sprocket here. Just the way they used to do it. And then on the back, we have 10 on the rear wheel. Now on the Diamondback, I do like keeping on the larger sprocket and actually just work the rear gears, and it just seems to be a lot better. The gears are a little bit further apart. I feel like I can power through a lot of the hills a lot better than on the Giant. And for some reason, it just feels like it's like you're trying to play basketball with ankle weights on. I don't know. It could be some of the things that I've already mentioned: the weight, the gears, the tires. It could be a lot of different things, but that's just my opinion. So I'm gonna have to give gearing to the Diamondback. All right, so far it is not looking good for the new Giant, unfortunately. All right, so we're on our last category that we're actually gonna be talking about today, which is braking. Now, we have Shimano brakes versus Tektro brakes. Both of them are pretty decent. Pretty much their highest end or whatever. Now, Shimano brakes work straight out of the box. As soon as you hit the brakes, bam, you are stopped, and they work fantastic. The Tektro brakes, I've even tried to break them in, kind of ride them a little bit, let them go, ride them, warm them up, cool them off, all that type of stuff. Kind of sort of like I do on a car, and they still suck. Holy, I don't understand it. Being this price point, you would think that any brakes they put on there is going to be fantastic. I'm going to blame that on me because I just assumed that it would be pretty decent, but I'll take the Shimano brakes every time. This one doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I'm coming down a hill. It does slow you down, it does stop you, but not as much as the Shimano brakes. Now anyway, I've tried to bleed the brakes. Maybe there's some air pockets in there or something like that. Still didn't fix anything. It's just squishy. It's not a firm feel. Much rather like the Hardtail. So I'm gonna give 2 check marks on there because those brakes are that much better than these. All right, so my overall viewpoint in this battle, gonna have to go with the Hardtail. If I'm racing somebody, if I'm going against a time slip, if I'm just going out there because I don't have a lot of time, because this is a whole lot faster. And if I look at my times, from my watch and stuff, this is a couple minutes faster on a 8 to 9 mile track than it is on this guy. And this one whoops my butt. But doing single track, there's a lot of bumps. There's a lot of rocks. There's a lot of branches, roots, all kinds of stuff. This one, my butt thanks you. I'm gonna still ride this one just because it is a lot easier on my butt, and I'm not in a race. And not only that, I kind of gave this to my little buddy Corbin, and so this is his now. Now, I did call up Giant and say, hey, I am really not happy with your product. Their response was that I could have gone through their system within, I think it's like 30 days or whatever, and upgrade. So I can turn this one in and say, I don't like it, it's just horrible. I can upgrade to maybe a 1, a Trace 1, or go to an X, or go to any of the other ones. But I kind of waited too long, and that is on me. Now, there was also some other programs that I could have went along and tried to trade this out, but then I would not have pretty much gotten my money back. I don't know. I mean, I should have looked into it a little bit more. I'm still going to keep it. I'm still going to ride it, and it should be fine, only because the full suspension is a lot better for my rump. All right, so I did have to get a new neck for this guy. The one thing I did notice is that the specs on this guy should have looked a little bit closer. I didn't. This one here has a 35 millimeter shaft or handlebar, where this one here I think is like a 31 or a 30 or something like that. So I couldn't exactly take parts from one and go to the other. But I did have to get a new neck. This one here is a 35 millimeter neck from here to here. I had to go up with a 90 millimeter. So as you can see, it's a whole lot further away. Now, why did I actually have to do that? Well, this one here was a little bit too far towards me. I wanted to stretch out a little bit more, so I got the 90 millimeter. I did take my 90 millimeter off of the Diamondback because Corbin was too far away because he's a lot smaller, so I had to bring it in. And so I got him a 35. That's why I was saying, oh, let's just swap around, but it didn't work. I would have to use those handlebars, and it would have been a lot of work. Didn't want to do that, so I didn't do it. So anyway, in conclusion, I love my hardtail, but I also love the full suspension. And depending on what you're trying to do, depends on what you really want, which one you want to go with. Do I have buyer's remorse? Yes, I do. Because that was $3,000. I could have bought a car or a boat, but it's okay. I'm just gonna ride it and enjoy it and use the full suspension. But I'm gonna keep this guy around, one for Corbin, and if I ever want to race somebody, I'm gonna take that one and smoke them, just because I got that much confidence in myself. Anyway, take it easy, have fun. Hopefully this helps you a little bit, understand a little bit about some of the pros and cons, things I like, things I don't like, but it's not very scientific. It's just my opinion. All right, so get out there on the trail, get yourself a bike. There's the hardtail, full suspension. Doesn't make a difference as long as you're out there. Go by your budget. $3,000, $1,800. But hey, it's all right. So, take it easy, have fun. Take a look at all the other videos. We got some boating stuff. We got some biking stuff. We got some cooking. Getting ready to do some more cooking here real soon. And also don't forget to check out our sister channel, 5 Lakes ODL, which will be outdoor living. So you actually can see me on the trail with one of these and kind of go from there. So, enjoy. Catch you later. And Happy New Year.